Hello everyone and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a player focus on Idrissa Gueye. This is because recently Peter O'Rourke from Football Insider stated that it is looking unlikely that Everton are going to extend or offer the 12-month extension to Idrissa Gueye. And we're just going to talk about that. We did run a poll on Twitter, and if you want to know what those says, around 50% of the fans said that they would accept this extension. And then it was quite evenly split between, like a shoulder shrug meh and a complete no. And that's kind of the reaction I expected, but I think we're going to deep dive a little. And if you do see me looking off over here, that is just because I've got some stats and stuff looked over here so we can talk about Idrissa Gueye this season at least anyway. And, to go, like I said, if I look over here, Gueye's on a reported £80,000 a week. And so I can imagine the extension will be at around that price. And signing a 35-year-old in September, it says here. 35 in September and 80 grand a week with the position we're in, with a complete lack of funds, with no real direction. Do we really want to be signing someone at that age to a contract that hefty? I don't think we do. And I think if you look at Idrissa Gueye's stats overall, for a defensive midfielder, he's doing his job. He's in the top 2% of defensive midfielders in all of Europe for tackles at 3.63 a game. And the top 20, about top 30% for interceptions at 1.3. But are those numbers inflated because of how little we hold the ball and how easy it is to pass through our midfield? Is it easier for Idrissa Gueye to get these tackles because we haven't got the ball so much? It's different from, I'm not comparing Idrissa Gueye to N'Golo Kante or even his former self. When he was playing for better Everton teams that maybe did hold the ball a little bit more, those tackle numbers did look a little more impressive because at the end of the day, he had the ball. We had the ball more. He had to do less defensive work. Now, whenever he does play, we have, 30% possession even against the good teams, even against the bad teams, sorry. And I just think it's an option where defensive midfield, I don't really think we have that real stopper like Idrissa Gueye, someone who can, in a sense, run around, win the ball. And he's got decent passing distribution in his defence. Saying that, he only does complete 82.5% of his passes, which is in the bottom half of midfielders in Europe, defensive midfielders anyway. But I just think we're at a point now with the club where bringing someone back like Idrissa Gueye is just a backward step. And I do know that a real linchpin defensive midfielder is hard to find. And I understand that a lot of people may be looking at it of the perspective that Onana's probably going to leave in the summer. If we let Gueye and Onana go, that gets that's no defensive midfield cover. But I do think there's defensive midfielders out there for a reasonable price. I do think there's going to be lads in the Championship who don't get promoted who've performed really well in defensive midfield. People who are getting relegated. I wouldn't, you look at Sander Berger, you look at Josh Cullen, you look at Josh Brownhill. These are real standout players, but players who can play that defensive midfield role to the same, if not better, role than Idrissa Gueye. I definitely think someone like Josh Cullen could play that role at a better rate than Idrissa Gueye, and there's no reason if we stay up that we shouldn't be able to sign them. Even in the Championship, if we can command some fees for players, there's no reason we can't sign some of the better defensive midfielders in the Championship, some of the more mid-table located defensive midfielders that may be looking to move up at a chance of promotion. So I think there's a large market out there for players that offer what Idrissa Gueye offers, and of course there is the possibility, I don't think it's a very low possibility, of Onana staying and Onana being dropped into that 6 role where he is much better. I think he would be much better sat in front of a defence screening and then being given opportunities to drive up with the ball, sort of like what Declan Rice did at West Ham. Something similar to that role, I think, is what would be Onana's best role. But I just think there's no real benefit, again, to re-signing Idrissa Gueye, in my opinion. I guess he could be a morale guy. He could be a guy who really keeps the team spirit up. And as a leader, to someone who could transition possibly to Sean Dyche being sacked if the rumours of 777 not wanting him if they take over. I think there's a lot of avenues you can take down this where I can understand why Idrissa Gueye would be useful. But I think, you look at some of the contracts expiring this summer. I believe Gomez is expiring, Dele Alli's expiring, Idrissa Gueye expiring. These big contracts from yesteryear, and I guess Idrissa Gueye more less than a sense of he returned not long ago, and Dele Alli. But I think, these big contracts, which in the end, looking back on, I don't think Idrissa Gueye's contract was stupid. I think Idrissa Gueye he's been okay. He's had a few mistakes in him, and I think there's been a few times where fans have called him for his head, but I think he's been a presence, at least in a sense of where he's been there putting in semi-consistent performances, which is more than what we can say from a lot of the team, to be completely honest. But I just don't see a world where the re-signing of Idrissa Gueye on 80 grand a week is not possible, but it's a positive move for us. We're clearly in financial trouble. We're clearly going to have to sell in the summer. 80 grand a week's a lot of money. Can we probably sign a better player on 80 grand a week? Yeah, I'd say that we can. And I don't think it's any ill intent towards Idrissa Gueye, a fantastic servant in the club in his first stint. And I don't think he's been awful in the second stint. But signing a 35-year-old on 80 grand a week, that's the exact problem that got us here in the first place, and that's something we really need to edge away from now. We need to be not running like Brighton in a sense, but we need to be operating smartly, operating with the intent to make money now, to be completely honest with you, because of the situation we're in. We can't be in this position where we're demanding to charge up the league because we don't have the funds to do that now. So, and if we get a new owner, I don't think 777, who are the front runners to take over, have the funds to do something like Mashiri did. So I think we're in a situation where we need to become smartly run, and we need to be able to make a profit and then replace them well. Re-signing a 35-year-old on 80 grand a week is an example of just bad scouting, and I understand that a lot of people are saying they would sign Idrissa Gueye because they probably don't trust us to re-sign someone in that position. I completely understand that, but I think some faith has to be there, because I think, unfortunately, now it's push or shove time for a lot of people involved in the club, whether that's director of footballs, managers, coaches. I think it's a time now where it's sink or swim now. We really need to see what they're capable of this transfer window, or else I think we're going to be in a position where we're going to be stuck in I think we are stuck in that Sunderland mold now, and we don't want it to end like Sunderland. We want it to be in a position where we can break out, not in the sense of like an Aston Villa or a Newcastle, of teams who bounced up after relegation, but more a team that has always been in and around relegation, is able to find themselves crawling up the table. You look at a team like Brighton under Graham Potter, there were always signs that they could progress, but they didn't take that real first jump until Roberto De Zerbi, I'd say. So I think that's the type of thing we need to go down, and in my opinion anyway, I just don't think Idrissa Gueye would be the type of person you want to be bringing in for that. But I think that is all I have to say on this matter. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed, and follow me on Twitter at Callum 3. And I'll see you all for the next video and our live stream that I'm on.